started. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Huns History. I'm Billy O, and tonight we have a special guest, a Huns legend, pictured behind me in this infamous photo from 4 in the morning or so at Nasty's after the first ever Huns TRU championship, I guess 1993 or 94, is John Banks. John, how are you doing?
How you doing? Actually, that was the national championship when we got back from the national championship.
I thought
Saying that.
this, Zach was showing a bunch of photographs about how you guys closed down Nasty's after you won
Yeah.
TRU. So I don't know
I could
which
be.
this is from, but it's that era.
All I know is I have no pants on,
Well, that was normal, John. In fact, tell
which
me
was
this picture. It looks like a lot's going on with you and that trophy.
which is very normal for the nasties at 4 o'clock in the morning to have no pants on. So there's nothing unusual about that.
Normal for you.
Yes, for me. Well, other people too. Okay, there you go.
So let's start there.
Okay.
You and I went to the playoffs in, I don't know, 84
Right.
with a really good team, the school bus picture. And if I remember
That was a
correctly,
great.
we were one pass away from winning TRU, so we were pretty
Mm-hmm.
close then. But this
Mm-hmm.
year, 93 or 94, you guys broke through and won TRU and went all the way to nationals.
That's right. It was the year started really kind of tough. Actually, we had to actually compete, go to the TRUs in the 3-man tournament in San Antonio against Alamo City and Corpus Christi. It's like the best team would win. We had like a 3-man tournament, and we just started to gel there. And we just kept on playing, and we had a good run at it. And we went to the national championships, and we pulled up one of the 4 teams, and we were still a ragtag team. Jay Rudd and all these guys, and we walked in there, and they go, "Who's your captain?" And we kind of looked at each other, and we're like, "Captain?" Because the other teams had captains, and they had big squads. And we're like, "I don't know, who wants to be captain?" And we go, "Jay Rudd, you be our captain." So we had a good run at that game. We lost in the semifinals at the end of the game. And I still think about that game every day of my life.
I saw a post from you recently that you ran into JD and you guys were talking about it, and you still think you should have won that game.
Still think we should have won that game. And JD had an amazing memory. We sat there after a couple of beers, and he just replayed the whole last 10 minutes of the game from play to play, who had the ball, who dropped. I mean, it was just pretty amazing. And it's just like, yeah, I still think we should have won that game. We were outmanned, probably outweighed. The first scrum down, I remember them taking Jay and Terry, lifting him off the ground. So you knew we were in trouble when that happened.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it was a hardcore game, and the Caustic team that beat us went on to trounce the other semifinal team in the finals.
You know, that team, Jay Rudd and Terry came out of retirement. You had Chandler at hooker.
Yep.
You had Zach and Dahlberg at second row. You had you and Jack at the wing forwards, and you had Poot and some guy from the Air Force alternating at number 8. That's a hell of a scrum.
Right.
That's a hell of a scrum.
Yeah, we were yeah, and we were kind of outmanned, outweighed, but we were kind of primed up for it. And a lot of guys like us at Jay, we've been playing for like 10 years together.
Right.
You know, we've been playing since the early 80s together. You know, so we kind of knew everybody's move, what they were doing. We're going to scrum. We know exactly what everybody's going to be. It's a natural type of feeling with us guys back then.
You had Joe P at scrum half. You had Art, if I'm not mistaken, Art Acuna at fly half. You had great wings in Thierry and Montgomery.
Montgomery, Suggy at fullback. Yeah,
that just sounds like a great team.
Yeah, we had fun. Of course, after we lost that game, we had another game the next day. But I think we all stayed up all night drinking. We were pretty horrible in the first game and the second game. We were a little bit hungover a little bit. I remember the first play, they kicked it off, and Terry was like, I think he was still drunk, actually. He's like trying to get the ball and hit him in the head. So we were competitive, but we had to kind of wake up a little bit. But hey, 4th is pretty good.
It's great. I remember when I heard about that, I think I was living in Hawaii. I just moved to Hawaii at that time, so I heard about it later. And I was just so glad for the club that we'd finally broken through in the TRUs and had just done so well. I mean, it was just a
Yeah.
phenomenal accomplishment.
Well, this was the season that started really rough. Like I said, we lost a lot of games. We came back in the second half of the season to tie. We had to go to a playoff with Alamo City and Corpus Christi, and we just rolled on from there. It was also help having Terry, the Frenchman, showed up, and other little guys came, and
And
that kind of helped.
Gordon
Yeah,
was a hell of a player too, I
yeah,
hear.
yeah. It kind of helped having those guys show up to firm up the back line. But we were just at the years of playing with each other, we just gelled and we knew what we were doing. We were in pretty good shape, and it was kind of a highlight right there.
One of the things I was reading all the write-ups for all of us that were nominated for the Hall of Fame, and you were nominated for the Hall of Fame. And one of the things that really touched me to read was that someone said about you that you were the captain's fund before there was a captain's fund. And another great story about you is Kirk Tate thought we were going to kick him off the team for tackling Jay Rudd in his first practice. And you put your arm around him and dragged him to Nasties.
Right.
You're one of us now, kid. And David Pelton says you were his dad. So you have a real legacy of being a glue guy that held the club together. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, David Pelton was a kid. I think he was barely 18 years old. We actually had his first beer together. I gave him his first beer after a game. But back then, when I joined the Huns in 1980, I came from New York. I moved to Austin, and it was the fall of 1980, and I just got done playing with St. John's University, and I just got off tour. Actually, I just got off tour from Ireland and Scotland, so I was a pretty good player in my mid-20s, and I looked at the rugby club. It was said Austin Rugby Club. So they were practicing then at the intramural field at UT. So I joined them a little bit, and I got in the circle and kind of worked out. And after a couple of practices, they seemed kind of snobbish a little bit, the Austin club. So I was warming up a little bit, and the guy next to me go, "Hey, are these guys kind of, they're not getting a good feeling." And it was Dan Persico. So he goes, "Hey, follow me." So we walk all the way across the intramural field. And way at the end of the intramural field are like 8 or 9 guys running around, throwing the ball around. And the person goes, "Hey guys, this is John. He's a Hun." And that's how it started, actually. Everybody gathered around me, and it was just an immediate sense of camaraderie in these guys. And we had a lot of young kids who got up the UT team. So, you had to bond them together when they came and joined the team. And it was fun.
Well, the point of all those guys, and it's a huge compliment to you, was that you really made people feel a part of the club. And that was what Pat instilled in me when I played with Pat Lockridge, is that we really needed to stick together and have brotherhood. And Kirk learned that from you and to pass it on to all the current Huns. So good on you.
Well, that's exactly, because when I came, they open arms. They go, "Come on in." And every time someone joined the team, there was no jealousy or like, "What do you play?" It was all like, "You're a Hun. First you stepped on that field, you're a Hun. First practice." And that's how it is now.
Well, the other thing a lot of people said about you was that you were the king of Hun shenanigans at the bar and a lot of things. You talked about taking your pants off. I remember a story about you leading the guys into the Shreveport rugby bar one night before a game and told everybody to take their pants off, and you all walked in naked.
We had rented the bus, and we pulled into Shreveport Lake. Of course, it took us, by the time we got to Shreveport, numerous stops we made, obviously, on the side of the road. And we decided, okay, guys, it was their rugby club. It's like maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night. We all just took our clothes off and walked in the bar like nothing was nothing, sat down and ordered drinks, and, like it was normal. But that was always fun.
It's already been mentioned by somebody else in an interview, but you're the man with the infamous third testicle.
Yes.
One of the first times I ever talked to Grant Cole, who does a lot of rugby things in Houston. He said, I went to Nasties. I said, I want to see the guy with the third ball. And he presented himself, and I thought it was a lie, an urban myth, but it was true. You've really added a lot of color to the team over the years, and I think that's an important role to have.
Okay.
What do
Well,
you say?
I'll tell you the truth, Bill. There really isn't a third ball. This story developed. We used to go on boat trips for the Huns, and the girls would be there. And they go, "You realize, I have a third." They go, "That guy has a third ball over there," and the girls would fairly be drunk. And they go like, "Oh, can we see it?" They go, "No, you have to feel it. You can't see it." So then I would drop my pants, and these girls would go like, just it's down there, move just over there a little bit more. It's over there. And they go, oh, now I feel it. And they would kind of line up, but there really wasn't able.
Amazing. That makes
Couldn't
the
help myself.
story
That was
that
kind
makes the story even better. I have some ice I want to sell to Eskimos.
of fun. But we had
Uh, what is your kind of who's your favorite Huns character? If people think you're a character and they mention you, who's your favorite Huns character to talk about that you played with?
we had some guy named Peter, the Englishman, back. I don't know if you remember Peter.
Peter with the giant brown Lincoln Continental he stole from Danny Schlossberg?
Exactly. He was the major character. He would always have he would show up to a away game with a stripper from last night, and we put her in the van or the bus, and she would just go with us. He was a quite a character. I think he was running from the law a lot in England, but he was always in slight trouble. Sorry, I'm outside right now. Hold on.
Peter was a character. Do you remember after we lost that game in Shreveport, Jay Rudd took us out on a recon mission to steal
Yes.
the famous Stoner Drive sign, and we went into the bus and somebody tripped over Peter on the floor in flagrito delicate with a hooker that he brought from the night
Oh,
before.
yeah. Of course, Jay stole the bus that night. He didn't admit that, but we did steal. We weren't allowed to take that bus. We did have a driver, but we just borrowed it for a while, I guess. But we've had, stories like Peter was a crazy person. He would, between halves, he would sit there and smoke a cigarette. Every time we had timeout, he'd be puffing on the cigarette. He was a really good rugby player, actually. Hardcore, tough, a little bit dirty English rugby player. But he was, every morning we have a wait. We always had to find him wherever he usually got drunk the night before. So we had to go to his house, and he would hide under his bed because he was so hungover. We would drag him. Actually, I did that several times for away games. We would have to go by the people's houses, and they'd be hiding in the closet or under their bed. We'd drag them and throw them in the van to go to the games because we maybe played a little bit too much the night before.
You're wearing a silverback shirt. You were a silverback into your late 50s, early 60s. How long did you play for the Silverbacks? Talk about them a little bit.
I played about a year ago the last game. I still have a couple more games left in me. I'm 66. And I got a couple more games in. I was hoping to play this year. The eldest thing was canceled.
You and me both, brother. We may be on the field together.
Yeah, I'm right now. I played like 190 when I played. I'm now 157. I do a lot of running.
So you were 190, and you're what? 5'7"?
5'8". It's 5'7.5". Well, yeah, 5'7" probably.
I've got a great picture on my wall in the office of that scrum in the Austin tournament, 1984, where you and I used to play weak side, strong side, wing forwards together. But Elston must have gotten hurt or something. So you're playing scrum half. You're peeking over the scrum as the other guy's putting in the ball, and I'm playing on the left side. Terry's in that picture. That's one of my favorite pictures of you.
Always cheating just a little bit, knowing where the ref was a little bit to get the yeah. But my characters, James Elston, what a character, man! He was.
He's still a character.
He's still a character, and all the Acuñas, Jerry in the old days when he get tackled, he'd get up and he'd hit somebody. It's like he wasn't supposed to be tackled. Like Jerry, they're supposed to tackle you.
And all his tackles were around the throat.
He started punching people.
All his tackles were around the throat too.
Yeah,
everything was a high tackle.
Yeah, but in those early days, we barely had 15 guys out there. Yeah, we'd have like 12 or 13. We get Tommy Amos, which is Jay Rudd's roommate, that goes, Jay, Tommy, can stand on the field a little bit. We get him to kind of stand on the field by the thing, and then we start the game. But we had a hard time getting players. But it was like we never really quit. We had some games we'd be down by a bunch of points, but we always played the game out, no matter what.
Well, you're a Huns legend, John. I've missed you the last few road trips I've made to Austin. Our schedules just haven't aligned, but I hope we all see you out at the pitch sometime soon. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we sign off?
I'm just trying to keep a low profile because the witness protection program doesn't like me going out that much and stuff like that. But that picture's great, guys. No, I'm looking forward to get rugby season starting again. Actually, I want to get that 1 or 2 more games in. I want to see because I do run every day. I'm in great shape. I want to see if I can still do it for a couple more games.
Well, I'm going to shoot you an email, and are you on the elders list? Do you get my monthly
Yeah,
updates about what's
I do.
going on?
Pretty
Okay, good.
much.
So
Yeah,
you see
I'm
what's
on the
going on.
okay. I'm on the other day, and it's
Well, we
great.
miss you. We're going to try and get the gang back together as soon, and we have another reunion in 2 years that's going to be the next cycle on the Hall of Fame too. Hope to
Okay.
see you then.
Well, it's great talking to you, and can I go put my pants on now?
Whatever you want.
Because
I
I'm,
was.
I'm on the balcony. It's like 3 or 4 ladies sitting there just looking at me right now.
That's the great thing about Zoom is that you never know.
Bill, really great talking to everybody and talking to you and kind of talking about old memories. And they're still there every day. These memories.
You know,
Hopefully they
I'm
always.
with you. I'm with you all the way. I think about that Shreveport game every single day.
I run all the time. I think about the Shreveport, the TRU game, the national championship game. I go, damn, we were that close,
You
and it
know what?
still killed.
We were small compared to some of the top Division 1 teams, but we
Yeah.
always played good rugby. We always
Yep.
held our own, and
Yep.
I'm really proud of that. Jay Rudd sent me an email the other day. It said he thinks about his times playing for the Huns all the time. We all do.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything you've done for the club, man. It was great talking to you.
No problem, guy. Take care. You can sell that picture if you want. Put it on the internet.
All right, sir. Take
All right, buddy.
care.